Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, today we are tackling something literally anyone who's ever loved a dog knows all too well. We're talking about the infamous guilty dog face. You absolutely know the look, right? The slow motion blink, the sorrowful eyes, the tightly tucked tail, the head bowed down in what looks like just crushing remorse. It's a look that has spawned, well, probably 1,000 internet memes and convinced pet owners everywhere that our dogs share our complex sense of human morality. But are we actually interpreting this correctly, or is there something totally different happening behind those puppy dog eyes? Our source material today takes a fascinating dive right into the psychology, canine social intelligence, and evolutionary biology that dictates how our dogs interact with us. So, get ready to rethink everything you thought you knew about man's best friend. To really wrap our heads around this, let's step into a highly relatable crime scene. Picture this, okay? You've been gone for a few hours, you walk through the front door, and boom, there it is, a completely shredded couch cushion. White stuffing is scattered across your living room rug, looking like fresh snow, and sitting right beside this massive disaster is your dog. Their ears are pinned flat back against their head, their eyes are darting away, desperately avoiding eye contact, and their whole posture is just shrunk down to the floor. Now, to any human observing this, the dog's reaction seems like an absolute undeniable admission of guilt. I mean, they did the crime and their face screams that they know it. Okay, let's dive into this. Does your dog actually know it did something wrong? Or is that famous guilty face nothing more than a brilliantly crafted illusion? This question is the central mystery we are going to unpack today. It's such a compelling puzzle because it totally challenges our everyday assumptions. We just naturally assume that because our dogs act like us in so many ways, and because they are undeniably super smart, their emotional processing must match our own. We assume that looking guilty means feeling guilty. But science is actually asking us to look a little closer and separate our human interpretations from canine reality. I mean, we've all seen the face that fooled millions. If you've spent literally any time online, you've scrolled past viral guilty dog videos. Millions of us watch these clips, sharing a collective laugh as these dogs are basically interrogated about chewed up shoes or stolen steaks. And these videos are incredibly powerful because they reinforce a narrative we really want to believe. We want to believe that our dogs possess a complex moral understanding of right and wrong, and that they feel genuine shame when they disappoint us. The sheer volume of these videos and how universally we react to them has pretty much cemented the idea of the guilty dog as a hard fact in popular culture. But as we know, pop culture isn't science. So to figure out if dogs actually experience this, we have to establish a strict baseline. Scientifically speaking, what even is guilt? Well, true guilt is a highly complex social emotion. It requires a massive level of self-awareness. It basically means an individual has to mentally travel back in time, reflect on a past action, compare that action against an internalized set of social rules or morals, and then feel internal remorse for violating those rules. It is a really high-level cognitive process. So the question isn't just, does my dog look sad? The real question is, does my dog possess the neurological and cognitive architecture to reflect on the past and judge their own morality? Let's move to this next part and see how this builds. Because to solve this profound mystery, scientists couldn't just rely on YouTube compilations. They needed rigorous behavioral science. This brings us to a groundbreaking series of scientific experiments specifically engineered to put this whole guilty look under the microscope. Researchers wanted to isolate exactly what triggers this specific set of physical behaviors in dogs. Like, are they actually reacting to the memory of their own disobedience? Or are they reacting to something else entirely? So the scientists designed this incredibly clever psychological trap to test it out. Step 1. An owner places a perfectly tempting treat in front of their dog, strictly forbids them from eating it, and leaves the room. Step 2. The dog either disobeys and eats the treat, or they behave and ignore it. But here is the crucial twist. Sometimes the researchers would secretly remove the treat while the owner was gone. So the owner thought the dog ate it, even when they hadn't. Step 3, the owner comes back and reacts. They either scold the dog or act completely neutral, based entirely on what they believed the dog did. This brilliant setup finally allowed researchers to untangle the dog's actual past behavior from the owner's present reaction. And this brilliantly illustrates something absolutely stunning. The experiment revealed a stark contrast. The dogs displayed the guilty look, strictly based on the owner's reaction. It had nothing to do with what the dog had actually done. In fact, dogs who were perfectly innocent but were scolded by their misinformed owners displayed the most exaggerated guilty looks of all. On the flip side, dogs who did eat the treat but whose owners greeted them happily showed zero guilty look whatsoever. What we're seeing here isn't human guilt, which is an internal remorse for breaking a rule. No, it's canine anticipation. It's a direct, real-time reaction to the owner's immediate behavior and tone. So, if it's not guilt, what exactly are we looking at? Well, it's a brilliant survival strategy. Over thousands of years of living right alongside humans, dogs have undergone profound evolutionary changes through domestication. When a dog displays tucked ears, averted eyes, and a lowered posture, they're actually performing what behavioral scientists call appeasement behaviors. In wild wolf packs and in domestic dog interactions, these physical signals are used to diffuse tension and avoid conflict. It's basically their way of saying, "Hey, I am no threat to you. Please don't be angry." It's an evolutionary response designed entirely to pacify a larger, potentially aggressive figure, which, in the living room scenario, just happens to be an angry human holding a shredded shoe.
Here is what is actually happening. Dogs are absolute masters of observation. They possess an absolute superpower for reading our subtle physical and vocal cues. They study our facial expressions, they listen to the microscopic shifts in our tone of voice, and they track our body language constantly. Think about it. When you walk into a room and see a huge mess, your posture immediately stiffens, your breathing changes, your face drops. Long before you even say a single word, your dog has already read those cues. They've correctly anticipated your negative reaction. They are reacting to you in the present moment, not to their own actions in the past.
Now, I know learning that dogs don't feel guilt in the human sense might sound like a bit of a letdown at first, but trust me, it shouldn't be. Dismissing guilt does not mean dogs are emotionless robots. Actually, it's quite the opposite. When we stop projecting our own human complexities onto them, we can finally begin to appreciate the true, incredibly rich spectrum of canine emotion and intelligence. Their emotional world is vast, it's genuine, and it's profoundly impactful. Just look at these scientifically backed emotions they actually do possess. We're talking joy, fear, excitement, deep attachment, anxiety, and perhaps most remarkably, empathy. Brain imaging and behavioral studies have proven over and over that dogs experience these raw, primary emotions quite similarly to how a human toddler does. So sure, while they might not sit around agonizing over the moral implications of eating the cat's food, their empathetic intelligence is absolutely staggering. They can sense when you are sad, they will actively try to comfort you, and they experience genuine contagious joy when you are happy.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is understanding why we get this so wrong. Like, why do we constantly project our own human emotions, like guilt, onto our animals? Well, it's a psychological phenomenon called anthropomorphism, and we do this simply because it's how our human brains are wired to relate to the world around us. By assigning human feelings to our dogs, it makes them feel closer to us. It makes their behavior understandable within our own complex social framework. So even though it's technically scientifically inaccurate to call it guilt, this projection is actually a beautiful side effect of our deep desire to connect with our pets as literal members of our own family.
Which leads us perfectly to this powerful realization. You may be witnessing one of nature's greatest communication partnerships. This quote completely captures the true magic of the guilty look. Even if the look is just an appeasement behavior, take a second to think about what it actually represents. Two entirely different species have evolved side by side to the point where one species can literally read the subtle emotional shifts in the other and then respond with specific physical gestures designed purely to maintain harmony in that relationship. It is an extraordinary evolutionary bond. They don't need human morality because their social intelligence is specifically tuned to surviving and thriving right by our sides. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. The next time you come home to a huge mess and your dog gives you that famous sorrowful look, ask yourself, what are they really trying to tell you? They aren't confessing to a crime, they're looking at you, reading your distress, and using thousands of years of evolutionary intelligence to say, I see you're upset, and our relationship is the most important thing to me, so please, let's be okay. And honestly, that level of emotional intelligence and sheer dedication is vastly more fascinating than simple guilt. Thank you so much for joining me to explore the science behind the look and keep observing the incredible world around you.